Hello, and welcome to Letters from Norway. I'm Nick Cameron, your host. This is a short, unedited podcast responding to viewer mails. Matt, our sound editor, is off enjoying his 4th of July holiday weekend back in Indiana. Okay, a Norwegian living in Denmark wishing to remain anonymous, but I will call him Jim. He wrote me a letter and even sent a donation that we're on the right track and should keep up the good work. He listens to our podcast while driving to the office. He told us that the truth was refreshing. I was very happy to hear this. We eventually met downtown Oslo for a drink discussing current events and monetary policy. But what I found most interesting was that before we started talking, he gave me a box of Anton Berg chocolates in a pink tin for my wife. So although my wife works behind the scenes as a producer, she's becoming quite popular without even saying a word. So he told me that Norwegian media in general is very one-sided and the opposition is too extreme, so much so that their policies would be impossible to implement. There is nothing in the middle taking into account reality. So, Letters from Norway, we hope to fill that gap with rational conservatism based on the principles of the American founding fathers. I would like to thank him for his support, and my wife sends her regards and thanks for the chocolates. It's really great to see that we're striking a chord with local hardworking people. Okay, on Facebook, I received a response to my post about my experiences at the 4th of July party in Frogner Park in Oslo. I wrote kind of a piece that was just making fun of the Democrats, but someone decided to, give me some feedback, which is no problem. That's what this show is all about. We take all kinds of feedback. So it was a fairly valid critique. I was making fun of them selling Hillary T-shirts and having cardboard photos of Obama that people take pictures with and cardboard photos of Hillary. So here's the letter. Let's just get right into the letter. So it starts out, Nick, I initially thought this page was going to be something a bit different than what the title suggested. Okay, so now here's my response to that. Did you think this was going to be a blog about fjords and bunads and how I'm finding my way here? That assumption is partly true. I don't write about the generic stuff. There are dozens of blogs out there doing that. They all talk about the same boring stuff, how Norwegians are antisocial and the weather is great in summer and sucks in winter. I want to talk about the real stuff that matters and affects our daily lives. We live in a democracy and everyone must be engaged to uphold it. And what they need is facts, from both sides. So his second point, I like the idea of an American perspective of living in Norway and their experience. However, upon further review, I see that this is a fairly one-sided, misguided, and a baseless attempt to explain Norway and other topics. Okay, can you be more specific on what exactly and where I am misguided and baseless? I cite my sources or my own personal accounts of what I've seen with my own eyes. I actually offer both sides of the story and what I think are the root causes of the issues. I have been living in Norway for the past 4 years, paying my taxes and taking the required language and social studies courses, passing the exams that are required for citizenship. I am not sure what is baseless in my explanations. I only go back to the U.S. actually once every 2 years, and I spend most of my holidays right here in my apartment. Therefore, I eat, sleep, and breathe Norway. Okay, now here's the next question. Although you try to play it fair and balanced, re your voting record, please refer to my article, I see that this as a primarily far-right soapbox in the making. My voting record and background, I'm an engineer with an MBA, should be inviting conversation from Democrats on why this Minnesota-born, originally hard-left liberal turned to Trump. The short answer is that the Democrats decided to put the world's problems ahead of American ones. The whole principle of elected leadership is that we delegate responsibility to those who will represent our interests. I saw Chicago go down the toilet with Obama in power. Suicides and murders are up, crime is a problem. They even call it Chirac. I studied at the University of Illinois in Chicago, so I have perspective on this. I lived there. He failed his own hometown, favoring the global agenda over taking care of his own people who voted him in and paid his salary. I would say that this blog, Letters from Norway, is just right. It's a just right soapbox, and we are very open-minded. I want Norwegians to get an alternative perspective so they can make better decisions about the media and the news that they're hearing and elect the correct people into power, ones who will represent their interests. Here are some articles. I've posted some articles that are showing that I'm not one-sided or misguided. You know, my compass is America, the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and love of my country. So I wrote two articles that actually are pro-liberal. One is my stance on flag desecration. I actually am against anything that blocks, that disallows people from burning the flag. That is a right of expression, and people should be allowed to do it. And I have a whole article on that. And the other article I wrote that is kind of left-leaning is John McCain is an idiot. Well, not really, but there is an article that shows all of John McCain's misgivings and shortcomings and how he should never have been in an airplane in the first place. So there you go. I am balanced, and actually, no one is protected on this site. So here's the next comment from this reader. Your bookmark pages clue me in on this. Most notable, Breitbart, Real Norwegian News, Norges Avisen, which means Norwegian newspaper, are all rife with far-right agenda, facts, and conspiracy theories. This says a lot. Also, Norge Avisen doesn't even publish the name of their writers, so how can you trust them? Well, okay, I will answer this. All the sites that I bookmarked are from people that I have met or interacted with extensively. I actually have talked to Breitbart, Zero Hedge, Norges Avisen. I've met all of these people. I go for walks on Karl Johan just about every day, running into anyone who wants to be social on both sides of the story. Like I said, I'm living here in Norway, and I'm going out and walking around and seeing it all for myself. Breitbart has been getting it right, in my opinion. And remember, I'm a Minnesota-born Democrat, so I know how to read a lot of newspapers. Trump, it turned out, won the CNN fake news battle. It turned out he was right. CNN is fake news. I always read Breitbart with a grain of salt, using Reuters articles and AP articles to kind of check the facts. And I developed my own perspective in the process, but I'm quite happy with Breitbart. Now, Zero Hedge, let's talk about them. Did you know that they've done some very important journalism exposing fraud by the big banks? I mean, they've exposed things at Goldman Sachs and Bank of America. They are actually highly regarded in Wall Street circles, receiving more readership than many mainstream media outlets. In fact, their Alexa rank, which ranks all the websites of the world, is 1,424. That's huge. That's way up there, being in the top 2,000 websites in the world, considering the 30, 40 million websites out there, or hundreds of millions of websites out there. They have been good to me, publishing my stories that draw attention to some worrisome areas of the Norwegian economy that are being undercovered in the local Norwegian papers, the big ones owned by the Schibsted Media Group. So they have been very good with me. I'm very happy working with Zero Hedge. Norges Avisen, I met them in downtown Oslo. Although they're not the most dapper or articulate people, they had some very valid points, and I believe they should be heard. I don't judge people on how they look or talk, but rather by what they do and believe in. I believe what they want is what's best for Norway, a nation, and they don't want to see it become a marketplace in the global economy. They're anti-EU just like me. They want to be a sovereign nation. And I am not white, and they were very nice to me. So they're not a racist group. They just want to have logical and rational conversation. Not publishing names. Let's talk about this. Norway is a small country, and these people must worry about implications from those close to them at work or even in their own families. It's like being Amish back home. If you don't believe absolutely in your small circle in what they think or what they believe, just like these Amish people back home, you'll be ostracized. The fear of losing your kinship and your community is very overwhelming for a lot of people in Norway. Moreover, All of your details here in Norway are public on 1811 or Gula Cedar. Hence, that's why I also use a pseudonym, so I don't get tracked down and harassed when when the police are on vacation. We've seen issues when the police are on holidays. What can happen here. So, real Norwegian news. This is an interesting one. I actually know these guys. I met one of their correspondents. He's a nice guy, and he invited me to hang out with him and his friends, and helping me stimulate productive conversations on how we can build a winning platform. They actually like to listen to what I have to say, because they want to win. They don't want to just be a fringe group. They have legitimate concerns. He acknowledged that there's been immigration in Norway going back to the Vikings. However, they just don't want to be replaced. I think people don't have a problem with immigrants or immigration if it's done right, and it's filling needs of this country first before trying to take care of the whole world, because that is suicidal. If you try to bring all of Syria here and all of India here, then you'll get India and you'll get Syria, and there won't be any country left. It's just that simple. I don't know why the left doesn't get that. I mean, this was logic I grew up with, that a forest can only sustain so many deer. Now, I am again a non-white of Indian origin, and I even acknowledge the niceties of Western civilization, originating from the northern and Anglo-European white people. I would rather see India, where my parents come from, become more like America or Norway than vice versa. Many of us immigrants reconcile this and want to uphold the system we live in. I would say that it's even more so than the locals. We want to uphold this system because we know the other side. We know what the other side is, the good, bad, and the ugly. I have been going to India every 2 years since I was 2 years old, and despite the crap you read in mainstream media about it being an emerging market and getting better, it's actually getting much worse. They're literally choking on their success. There are too many cars, there's just too much crowding, there's just pollution everywhere, the forests are being torn down so that more and more people can habitate. It's a mess. An Indian woman can wander the streets of Oslo, no problem, with little difficulty. But a Norwegian woman wandering the streets of India in a non-foreigner area, just in an average Indian area, she risks her life and dignity. So many of us, foreigners who have foreign parents or who are coming from other countries, we know this, and we really want to protect the society we live in. Okay, how can I take you seriously when you make comparisons of Norway to North Korea? Well, okay, here's my response. Did you read these articles in its entirety? So I posted 2 articles on my blog. Okay, so Norway has a fantastic history rooting back to the Vikings, and even before. There's a little bit known about that pre-Viking history, but I mean, I'm talking to a guy now, and he told me there's some logs or journals about even people from ancient Greece venturing up here to the Nordics, in the pre-Viking times. However, instead of teaching us that, and teaching us the Viking history of 780 to 1066. In my social studies course, we learned about the Romantic nationalism era, the era in the mid-1800s that was completely manufactured. Manufacturing history and inventing languages and costumes loosely based on reality is quite North Korean in nature, and that's the comparison and contrast I was making. Moreover, during my classes and interactions with people, I was constantly being lectured on how to fit in Norway and what I can talk about and not talk about. It wasn't anything like, I felt like I was being indoctrinated instead of being told all the possibilities that are here, all the things that I could do, and all the potential here. I was like getting all these lectures and lessons. I felt like that to be a little bit North Korean and communist. So I argue in my article that Norway doesn't have to do what the North Koreans do, making up history and languages, Nynorsk mainly, that this was completely made up. And I have on a podcast, I discuss this, how this happened. When they have a great history already with the Viking era. The Vikings had a sense of contract between leaders and followers that even predated the Magna Carta. They had commerce, they had history, culture. They went all the way down to Baghdad. They went all the way down to Turkey. They founded the Normandy coast of France. That was them. They even were interacting in England with the British kings. I mean, they were all over the place. They were cool. I've read all about them. That's what fascinates me about Norway is the Viking history. And that's what I want to integrate to and conform to because that's glorious and glamorous and cool. Not this 1850s, starving in the woods and eating potatoes type of stuff. That's lame. And I find it ironic that Norwegians who wish to be nameless say that I am spot on, while an American representative of the Democratic Party says that my writings are far right and baseless. So, a lot of Norwegians, who've been coming out of the woodwork and have told me, I'm right on the money. and, an American social justice warrior is, of course, telling me I'm baseless. Very interesting. Okay, next point. Now, yes, this is a page about your perspective, but really you try to shape that view into a common view of general people. If you keep using your perspective, you should follow grammar rules and retitle to an American or one American perspective in Norway. Okay, so I'll respond. Moreover, I originate quite a bit of my material from eyewitness accounts. I've already discussed this. I not only roam around Karl Johan, the main street of Oslo, it's like the Fifth Avenue or Michigan Avenue of the country, but also into the far reaches of the city, including places like Homila and Gorud, to see things for myself. So I do have perspective. During the election, I got pretty fed up with the beta males and Norwegian social justice warriors giving their expert opinions on what America should do, and they have never even lived there, or worked there. And the Norwegians that I have met that have lived and worked in America, they were there either on like a student program or they were in the NATO organization. There were Norwegian military people getting a fat housing budget and living in luxury, kind of removed from the American society. They were getting everything taken care of by the Norwegian state, and they got to experience steakhouses and shopping malls, but I don't think any of them actually saw the other parts of America, the reality that we lived in. So now I'll respond to these grammar issues. On my business card and website, we are titled An American Perspective from Oslo, and that's what I intended. I'm sorry. I forgot to put the AN in front of the words, but I updated the Facebook page to reflect that. It's going to take a little time for them to approve the change, and I appreciate the heads up. But I think this is just one of those things that's sour grapes, and he has to find something to nag on. Since you're president, since you lost in the presidential race, and then you also lost these 2 congressional seats, I'm still laughing my ass off, if you remember this ass off and Handel election. So it's fine. We'll fix the site, and you enjoy your sour grapes. Okay, now the last point that he makes. I would try to open public debate with you, but I feel that if I don't recite information from Fox News, Breitbart, or Zero Hedge, you won't listen, which says how much Kool-Aid you have drank. All right, here's my answer. I don't drink Kool-Aid. It's artificial, and when it's made and finished in liquid form, it has way too much sugar. But joking aside, I don't recite anything, but I do quote sources, and if it makes sense, I will share it with the audience. I feel that there's a view in Norway not being heard. My site is open for public debate through the Facebook page that has all those tools and handling systems to do that. I mean, the website that I have in the theme, this WordPress theme I have, I think it would blow up if I started accepting comments there, so I want to direct all that on the Facebook page, which is better equipped for that. All the stories I write are pushed out there instantaneously. I have these Facebook plugins that as soon as I write a blog post, it goes straight out to the Facebook. And everything is open for comments, and I'm always listening. I mean, I'm always gladly meeting readers all the time. I had another one take me out for a sushi dinner and wanted to talk about gold. So I'm all ears and I'm very social. Now, bear in mind, at this picnic at the Frogner Park, and I accepted a donut from the Republicans and a Rice Krispie bar from the Democrats. But remember, I am neither a Democrat or Republican. I am just an American living in Oslo, telling my story and wishing the best things for America. And I do believe in America first, because when America is first, the rest of the world will pick up. But with a weak America, the whole world will disintegrate. So I look forward to meeting you at the Left Wing Night in the near future that you showed me the flyer to. Now, wrapping up here, I would invite anyone to write me and or post on the Facebook page. Like, dislike, hate me. I don't care. I just like to hear from people, and I'm always glad to meet people out in public if I feel it's safe. I would like to thank you for listening, and I hope everyone has a great 4th of July weekend.